The Theory of Visualization by Ernest Holmes. Meditation for Thursday, October the 6th, 1927. The voice of truth guides me and keeps me on the path of the perfect day. The reason more people do not make conscious and definite use of constructive thinking is because they do not understand the principle underlying constructive thinking. The principle underlying the theory of visualization is that we are surrounded by a universal subjective mind which receives the impress of our thought and acts upon it, this mind being set in motion by our conscious thinking. When we think, we set a power in motion which is greater than our conscious mind. We are always using laws which in their ability to manifest transcend all human intelligence. And when we use mental and spiritual laws, we shall find that they act in the same manner. But universal subjective mind should not be confused with the Spirit of God. There is a vast difference between God as Spirit and God as universal subjective mind or law. God as law is mechanical, while God as Spirit is spontaneous. There is in the universe a spiritual consciousness or self-knowing mind. We find here just what we should expect to find, a personal and an impersonal element. God must be more than law, or we could not be self-knowing beings. In the life of the individual, we find that he has a self-conscious intelligence, and that underlying this self-conscious intelligence, there is a non-choosing, non-volitional factor, which we call his subjective mind. In the universe, there is a presence which fills all space, which is divine intelligence, spirit or God, the absolute. There is also a universal law which receives the impress of this spirit and acts upon it. Universal mind, in its subjective state, acting as law, has no volition of its own and must be directed by self-conscious intelligence. Having no purpose of its own to fulfill, it is a neutral field. This is what is meant by universal subjective mind or law. Now, we are surrounded by this universal mind in its subjective state and also by a universal spirit in a self-conscious state. From spirit, we may derive inspiration, illumination, and revelation through man, knowledge directly imparted without any process of reasoning whatsoever. The spirit knows itself, and since it fills all space, it is in us, therefore it knows itself, in and through us. In this way, all are known to the spirit. But law has no personal consciousness. It is neutral and must obey the impression given it. While law is neutral and impersonal, we are both personal and self-choosing, because we are individuals or individualized consciousness, or centers in God, the universal spirit. Meditation for Friday, October the 7th, 1927. The truth of God attends my every step. Today, I enter into a fuller expression of life. We choose, the law executes. This is true of any and all laws with which we are familiar. To recapitulate, there is, in the universe, a spirit which is self-knowing, and a law which is not self-knowing, but which is self-propelling and obeys the spirit. Man is a self-knowing centre in a law which has no volition other than to obey his impulses. Man is ignorant of this, and consequently brings upon himself, through a direct act of law, all the experiences which he suffers. Should he completely change his mode of thinking, he would completely change his environment. He is today the sum total of all his thoughts and acts, the objectification of his subjective state of consciousness, his subjective state of thought deciding what is to happen to him objectively. Man's subjective state of thought is constantly radiating into universal mental law the images of his entire belief in life, and from these images of unconscious thought spring all his outward conditions. The key then to success and happiness is the conscious control of thought and a continuous radiation of constructive thinking and acting. This key will unlock the treasure house of the infinite and reveal to man undreamed of opportunities and experiences. Man has brought upon himself all his troubles through ignorance of the law, which of itself is always a law of liberty, but which he has misused through misunderstanding the true meaning of life. He must reverse the entire process of his thinking and learn to think of himself only in terms of spiritual valuation, which alone are enduring and real. Visualization means to create a mental picture of oneself as he would like to be, to hand this picture over to the universal law of execution, and to believe implicitly that it will act. But our present ability to visualize depends upon our present state of thought. It is limited to previous experiences and impressions. A person, by the art of visualization, can bring into his experience only that which he can mentally image, and he can image only that which he knows. Perhaps this is why Solomon said, "With all thy getting, get understanding." Plotinus said something to the effect that our work is always done better when we face the spirit, even though our back is turned to our work. Emerson tells us that a betterment in conditions always follows the divine influx. Jesus tells us to seek the upper kingdom first, and that all things will be added. All great spiritual teachers have mentioned that we need to look for higher forms of thought if we wish to experience better things. By visualization, one may bring into his experience that of which he has a present conscious knowledge. He cannot reach beyond his mental grasp, nor can he jump away from his own shadow. Meditation for Saturday, October the 8th, 1927. He who inhabits eternity keeps watch over me and mine. It is necessary then to find higher visions and broader vistas of thought if one is to transcend his previous experiences. This can be done only by letting the higher mind rule, by conscious contact with greater reality. Visualization is always incomplete unless the thought is first impressed with the greater possibility and made receptive to the divine influx. The spirit is always ready to flow through man's mentality, but man is an individual and must let it flow by the act of his self-choice. Deep within our subjective mentality, are imprinted the memories of previous experiences, hidden away in the inner recess of thought, generally unknown to us, are the silent causes of our outward conditions. But the law is always acting, and we are ever perpetuating experiences which we would no longer have. What we need is a new outlook upon life, a broader vision, a deeper realization. This can come only from the Spirit which knows all things. The conscious use of law is for the purpose of neutralizing false images of thought, and in their stead creating true ones. We must exchange the human for the more nearly divine. We must learn to think as we feel. God must think about us. Now we know that God is perfect and a complete unit. Consequently, if we would think as God thinks, we must do so from the basis of unity, the unity of good and the perfection of being. But one cannot think from the unity of good while he believes in evil in any of its apparent forms, for clear thinking disavows evil and believes only in the good. It is useless to visualize unless one bears this in mind. God is one, not two. Unity, then, must be the basis of all our thinking. Goodness must be paramount if we are to visualize correctly and effectively. God is harmony, and harmony is beauty. It is unity, harmony, beauty, a perfect adjustment to the whole and to all of its parts. We must always bear this in mind, ever reaching out and up to the more perfect image. God is absolute and unconditioned in every aspect, in every respect, and our thought must never inject any belief in opposites. God knows no opposites. God knows only that God is and is all, and we must try to believe in nothing less than the all. The all is good, beauty and harmony. Harmony is love, and love is complete. We are to believe then that our thought operates through a field that is unconditioned and absolute, and if our thought is in such alignment with reality, it will become powerful. This is more than holding thoughts, and has nothing whatsoever to do with suggestion in any of its forms. Suggestion is a disease in which we should pray to be delivered before it delivers us to the judge, and we become condemned by the open confession of duality, which we have unwittingly admitted. God does not suggest, he knows, and his knowledge is law, and this law is perfect. Meditation for Sunday, October the 9th, 1927. Divine love floods my consciousness and dissolves and removes everything unlike itself. There is no power in holding thoughts, but there is power in knowing the truth, and that truth acts through the law. The will is not used in visualization, but the imagination is used. The will enables us to imagine or image along the lines of our self-choice. Will holds out the mold. Imagination fills the concept with spiritual realization, and the law executes the deed. Right thinking straightens out our thought for the purpose of right perception. Right perception is God, and God is all. God operates by self-knowing. The law acts by the impulse and outpush of spirit. That vision, which is based upon harmony and unity, is complete and unconditioned. The Spirit is it, and it is an act of the Spirit. The Spirit knows all things, and the law can do anything. By the conscious intelligence of the inner spirit, we set the law in motion for definite purposes. Any purpose which is constructive is legitimate and right. The Spirit intends us to have and enjoy all things. We must feel and know that back of our word there is a power that is greater than the apparent consciousness which sets it in motion. When we visualize, we must think in the absolute, perceive in the absolute, see in the absolute, and then let the law alone to execute itself. Visualization from this standpoint is a creative act and is never bothered by any existing condition or conditions. It is absolute because it is backed by an immutable law and power. Once we are certain that our whole thought is harmonious and unified with good, we may ask for what we will, and it shall be done unto us by the law. But it is dangerous to use this law unless we are absolutely certain of right visualization, for thoughts are things, and thoughts move in circles and will ultimately bring back to us exactly what we send out. Each must answer to himself, for himself, and all according to a perfect law. In visualizing, put the past entirely behind you. Do not think of the future, but make your thought perceive the ever-present reality. The Spirit knows no past and no future, and the law knows only to do. See yourself as you would like to be, but think of no person or persons in connection with your mental picture. Think of yourself as you would like to be, and calmly state that you are now in the position that you care to be in, that you are now doing the things you would like to be doing, that you now possess the things you care to possess. Look at your picture as you would view a landscape. Mentally dwell on this picture, trying to feel the reality of it until you can sense that it is a reality. Then leave the entire picture for the law to work out for you, returning to your everyday affairs with perfect confidence that something is really taking place on the invisible side of your life, and that you will experience in outward form all your inner aspirations. Meditation for Monday, October the 10th, 1927. Through the recognition of God within me, I am now realizing joy and peace. The following is an example of self-visualization using the first person. Let go of everything. Clear your thoughts of every impression. Do not will or wish anything. In the silence of your own thought, feel that you are surrounded by an infinite spirit, that there is an influx from this spirit flowing through you. Let the mind of this spirit be your mind and say, Infinite Spirit within me, which is God, all-knowing, all-wise, all-perfect one. There is no life apart from you, and you are that which I am. I am whole because you are whole. I am perfect because you are perfect. I know because you know, because you are, I am. My word is the law unto itself, through the one great law of perfect liberty and perfect action. At this point, visualize your desire. Draw a complete picture of it in your thought and realize that it now is. Rest in peace. This is a treatment by Marie Deal. That living spirit, almighty within me, which is God, is my life, which includes health, strength, activity and vitality. Every organ of my body is a spiritual idea and functions according to a perfect law of harmony. Therefore, every part of my being is perfect now. I am the perfect expression of perfect life now. That living spirit almighty within me, which is God, is my supply. It prospers all my affairs and is limitless in supplying my good. For I draw on that inexhaustible substance of spirit which knows no limit. Abundance is my birthright, and I claim it now. That living spirit almighty within me, which is God, is my intelligence. It governs, guides, and controls all my ways. My every desire is already complete. I have but to acknowledge it and claim it as being an accomplished fact now. So I go forth in confidence and assurance, with the positive conviction that God is and I am, and because I am, I can do, and I do. And so it is.